Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie, and this week I'm going to be talking to you about books that are coming out in 2021 that I hope I get to read at some point. These books are going to be in like publication order, and I'll try to remember to tell you the dates they're published. There's only about 15 at the moment that I'm super excited for, but I'm sure there will be more throughout the year as I find more. Anyways, let's get started. The first book I really want to read in 2021 is Theory Who Am I by Sam Tashida. It comes out in January 12th, 2021. It follows this girl. She had a brain injury. She wakes up in the hospital. She doesn't remember who she is. And like she kind of uses her phone to, I guess, discover her personality or discover who she was. I think it's supposed to be like a short-term memory thing. I don't know if she's going to get her memories back in the book or how exactly it's going to work, or if it will follow, how amnesia actually works, or like how closely to real life it will follow. But she finds out her name from the Siri assistant on her phone. She goes back to what she assumes is her apartment because it's shown all over her Instagram feed, and like there's some guy house sitting there, and he's like, yeah, you do kind of live here, but your boyfriend owns it. And so he helps her kind of track down what all has been going on, and it turns out that her life wasn't as perfect as it appears on her Instagram feed. And it also appears that her accident may not have been an accident, and I don't know if that implies that like someone in her life did it, or if she did it intentionally to herself, or like what exactly it implies. But just the idea really caught my attention, and I thought it sounded really interesting. The next book I'm excited for is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, and it also comes out on January 12th of 2021. This book, it follows Star's dad from The Hate U Give, Maverick, as he juggles his life, and I think he's like 17 or 18, and he's involved with gangs, and he gets a chance to fix his life, but he's still gotta deal with the gang he's been involved with for who knows how long, because he was in the gang. He was trying to help his mom because his mom's working 2 jobs because his dad's in jail, and then he finds out that he's got a girlfriend who's really cool, and I think it says in the summary that he's close with one of his cousins, and then he also has another kid, which is 7 from The Hate U Give. So it's kind of just going through his journey, and I think out of all the characters that could have gotten a book from The Hate U Give, I'm really glad it was Maverick, because I think he's really interesting, because it talks about how 7 and Star are so close in age. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes down in this book, as well as just generally his life, trying to make his life better for his family and stuff like that. I'm really excited to read about Maverick's life. Okay, next I want to read Cast in Firelight by Dana Swift. It comes out January 19th, 2021. The main thing that attracted me to this book first was the cover. I hadn't heard of it, and then someone that I follow on Goodreads, I guess they must have shelved it because it showed up in my little home feed, and I saw it and I clicked on it because the cover was cool, and then the actual story sounds really interesting. It's about these two, I think one's a prince, one's a princess. They're both royal, and I guess they both have magic in some way, and they've been trained in their magic. They're about to finish their magic, and they're betrothed, but they hate each other. They just both hate each other for whatever reason. And due to some type of war or something, that's an outbreak or of something, or a fight or something like that, they end up working together under aliases, and neither of them realizes that they're working with the person they seem to hate so much. And so that idea sounded really fun to me. Next is All the Tides of Fate by Adeline Grace, and it comes out February 2nd, 2021. This is the second book to All the Stars and Teeth, which I read last February or March, or this February or March 2020. And I really love that book. I rated it 4 or 5 stars. It was so fun to read, and so I'm so excited about the sequel coming out. I'm interested to see how it's going to work, because now Amora is like having to kind of rule her kingdom without showing her weaknesses, that she's lost her magic, and that there's some other issues going on that you'll know about if you finish the first book. And she goes on a journey to try to finish this, and then she realizes that she could lose everything. In an effort to fix her cursed bloodline and restore her magic and fix some other issues, she realizes that she could have to give up everything. And I'm excited about this book. I was really enjoying the book, and then she kind of frustrated me at the end because like she got most of what she wanted at the beginning of the book. It just didn't happen how she wanted it, and she's not sure if that means she didn't really want it because she's not actually happy, or she's just upset with the way she got it, or I don't remember exactly. But I am excited to read All the Tides of Fate. I'm really excited to read this one. This is one of the ones that I really hope I am able to read pretty quickly when it comes out. Next we have This Close to Okay by Lisa Cross Smith, and it comes out February 2nd, 2021. This book follows Callie, who is a recently divorced therapist, and on her way home from work one Friday, she sees a man like on the edge of a bridge, and she pulls over, she talks him down. They go back to her house, and I guess spend the weekend together, and she never really, or she doesn't want to reveal, I guess, that she's actually a therapist, and you know, what she's doing for him over this weekend is kind of what she does on a daily basis. And then apparently he has his own secrets. He doesn't actually tell her his name till they get to her apartment. His name's Emmett. But I am excited for this book. I actually got this book in my December Book of the Month Club box. I'm really excited to read this book. I actually got it in my December Book of the Month Club box. So I'm really excited to read this one. I'm hoping to read it sometime the end of December, beginning of January. Alright, the next book I'm excited for is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and it comes out February 9th, 2021. This is another book that actually someone else must have shelved it that I follow, and I thought the cover was really interesting and pretty, so I clicked on it and I read the summary and then I saved it, and that's how it got on my shelf. This book follows a 16-year-old girl named Decca, and her village has, I guess, this blood ceremony where I'm assuming they cut you somewhere, and if your blood is red, you get to stay in the village, and if it's not red, then you get punished somehow, I guess. And so she's already worried about it because she's already not quite like other people in her village. She's a lot more intuitive, I guess, and I guess it'd be to a point where it's concerning. And so during the ceremony, they cut her, and her blood is gold, so she can either stay in her village, or someone comes and like offers her a position to like go with them, and there's other people like her, she can go with them, and they're going to, I think, either fight for or against an emperor. And then she kind of discovers more and more about herself along the way. And I'm really excited for this one. I like stories where there's a journey, and along the journey a character kind of learns more about themselves. Next, I want to read Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi, and it comes out March 2nd, 2021. I've read 2 of Mary H.K. Choi's other books, and I really liked both of them. Or I loved Emergency Contact, and I liked Permanent Record. And Permanent Record and Emergency Contact both kind of seem to have like a focus on like a love interest. At least, you know, that's what kind of came off as from the summary. And it wasn't the only focus in the actual books, but it was important to the books. And then Yolk follows a girl named Jane. She is from Texas. She's going to fashion school in New York. She has some issues with a boyfriend, issues with some friends, and she also is dealing with an eating disorder that she doesn't really seem to want to deal with, and I guess really deal with yet. And then she feels like she's always struggling, and then she has a sister named June, who is, I'm assuming there's some type of age gap, because Jane is in college, and if she's like the other characters in Mary H.K. Choi's other books, I'm assuming she's probably traditionally college age, so somewhere between 18 and 22. And I'm her sister. I don't know if like she might be like older, like if there'd be a big age gap, or like, you know, if she's maybe like only 3 or 4 years older than Jane. But she's already like she's a financial something. She has like a really good job. She has a really good apartment, and in Jane's eyes, June just has always had a super easy life. But then June is diagnosed with uterine cancer, and I guess she's dying. I think uterine cancer is very deadly. I think, don't quote me. And so they end up living together and kind of rebuilding their relationship, because I guess they both feel like they need to now that one of them might be dying. And so I think that's really interesting, and the idea is really interesting, especially because the other books I read by Mary H.K. Choi definitely had more of a focus on romantic relationships, more so than they did family relationships. And I'm not saying they weren't important in the other books, but they weren't solely about those relationships. Whereas it seems like that's what Yolk might be about. And I'm also just excited to read more books by Mary H.K. Choi, because both of her other books did get good ratings for me. Next is Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas, and it will come out March 23rd, 2021. Funnily enough, I actually heard about Lost in the Neverwoods before I ever heard about Cemetery Boys. I don't know exactly how that happened, and I still really want to read Cemetery Boys. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But Lost in the Neverwoods just sounded so good to me as soon as I heard about it. It takes place in this town, and children are starting to go missing. But in the past, 3 children went missing, Wendy and her 2 brothers, and they somehow came back. Or Wendy came back, but her brothers didn't. And whenever these children start going missing, the town people turn to Wendy. Wendy doesn't want to deal with it, so she tries to, I guess, leave or not deal with it somehow. And she ends up meeting somebody named Peter, who she thought only existed, I guess, in her thoughts and dreams about the Neverwoods. And so I think that's going to be a really fun read. It's going to be really interesting, and I'm really excited for it. I went through a phase in high school where I was super into Peter Pan, and just very interested in everything, so I think it'll be fun to like read a Peter Pan retelling. Next is Witches Steeped in Gold by CNN Smart, and it comes out April 20th of 2021. It follows 2 different girls, and they're kind of enemies. One, I don't know exactly what she is, but the other one is I think she's like the daughter of she's a princess, and I'm assuming that her sister either died or let herself die or killed herself or something to like give her power to her mom, because the princess says she will not do that. She will not do that for her mom. And the 2 girls that the story is about are kind of enemies, but they end up working together because they have like, I guess another common enemy. That's the main thing I know about it. I remember back in the end of summer or beginning of fall, seeing this a lot on social media, and as soon as I saw the cover, I knew it was one that I was really interested in because the cover was so pretty, and I'm very attracted to pretty covers, and so I saved it on my Goodreads, and I've been excited about this book for months. Next is The Ones We're Meant to Find by Jo He, and it comes out May 4th, 2021. It kind of, I think it follows 2 sisters where one kind of just wakes up on an island by herself, and the only thing she remembers is she has a sister. And then the one who I'm assuming is probably the sister, she lives in like a world, or in a place where it's the only unpolluted place, and it's meant for people who genuinely want to take care of the earth, I think. And but the issue is like other people are doing whatever they can to get there, including lying and not being good. And so I'm really interested to read this book. The next one we have is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This book follows a girl. She goes to the subway, I guess, pretty often, and somehow it turns out that the person at the subway that she sees all the time that she, I guess, starts to develop feelings for is actually misplaced in the wrong time, and they're from the 1970s. And this book was described as like a queer retelling of Kate and Leopold. I don't remember like much about the movie. I remember like that I watched it as a kid because my parents borrowed it from someone on DVD. I don't remember the actual movie. I just remember the DVD cover. And I'm excited to read this book. It sounds really interesting. It sounds really cool with the time travel element and just the romantic element. And I think Casey McQuiston might be the author who wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue. I know it's a really popular book on BookTube and stuff. I haven't read it yet, and I'm not quite sure if I'm interested in it because of like the royalty and celebrity aspect of it, but I really am excited for One Last Stop. Next is A Chorus Rises by Bethany C. Morrow, and it comes out June 1st, 2021. I'm really excited for this book. I loved A Song Below Water so much. That was probably one of my favorite books of 2020, and so I'm really excited to read the next part of the story. The next book, A Chorus Rises, follows Naima. In the first book, she's kind of set up to be not the bad guy, but she's definitely not someone that, you know, she definitely doesn't come off as a protagonist. She, in the second book, she's kind of dealing with the consequences of her actions and trying to rebuild herself, and then along the way, she kind of, I guess, realizes that she's going to actually need to make a decision on if she wants to stay the way she had been, or if she wants to use her own voice to make a stand as well. And so I'm really excited to read about more characters in this universe. I hope that there's more books after this one too, because this one I'm really excited. Next is Blackout, which I don't know a lot about. There's not really a full summary released. So for Blackout, I'm actually gonna read you like where the summary goes on Goodreads, and then I'll talk about it. So Blackout is by multiple authors, and it doesn't come out until June 22nd, 2021. 6 critically acclaimed, best-selling, and award-winning authors bring the glowing warmth and electricity of Black teen love to this interlinked novel of charming, hilarious, and heartwarming stories that shine a bright light through the dark. A summer heatwave blankets New York City in darkness, but as the city is thrown into confusion, a different kind of electricity sparks. A first meeting, longtime friends, bitter exes, and maybe the beginning of something new. When the lights go out, people reveal hidden truths, love blossoms, friendships transform, and new possibilities take flight. Beloved authors Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon celebrate the beauty of 6 couples and the unforgettable magic that can be found in a sweltering starry night in the city. That one just sounds so interesting to me because so many authors are collaborating on it and working together to make this into a book. And I've read 3 of the authors. I've read books by I've read The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I've read 3 of Tiffany Jackson's books, and I read one of Nicola Yoon's books. I know I liked all 3 of those authors, so I have really high hopes for I have really high hopes for Blackout, and I'm really excited for this one. Like I said, there's not a cover yet for it, but there's a release date and a little bit of a summary, and I can't wait to read that one. Next is Isn't It Romantic by Lisa K. Adams, and it comes out July 20th, 2021. This one is the 4th book in the Romance Book Club series, and I read the first 2 books. I have the 3rd book. I need to read it, and I'm excited for this one. This one follows the Russian, and you finally learn his name, which is Vlad. He is in a marriage of convenience. He married, I guess, a childhood friend to help her get out of Russia because her father was a journalist who was killed. And along the way, he kind of realizes that he doesn't want to be in a marriage that's one-sided. I guess it feels like he's the one doing all the work. And since he's in the romance book club, I guess he kind of gets his friends to help. And apparently he's also trying to write a romance novel. And I'm excited. I'm glad that he's going to be more than just the Russian. Now, I'm glad that he's getting more than just like a comedic, like he's getting a bit more than just being the comedic. I'm glad he's not just me the butt of the joke. I'm glad he's getting a book to kind of expand on his character. And I'm excited to see how it goes. This one, at the end of the summer, it describes it as their most dangerous grand gesture yet. I think based off the first 2 books, and what I read about the 3rd and 4th now, it seems like each of the books is going to gradually get a little bit more serious or handle more serious topics, because I don't remember the first one being very serious at all, but the second one talked about serious topics. The 3rd one kind of, the female love interest in the 3rd one is, she's kind of tied to the book in a bunch of different ways because she's good friends with Liv from the 1st and 2nd book, and she spent some time with Thea from the 1st book because Thea and Liv are sisters, and she's also involved in the big issue in the 2nd book in some way. And so I'm interested to see like how if they'll stay like kind of light and fluffy while also handling serious topics. But I am excited for this book. I need to hurry up and read the 3rd one, and I'm excited for this one, and I wonder how many more books there's going to be. The next book we have is The Dead in the Dark by Courtney Gold, and it comes out August 4th, 2021. I'm going to be a little annoying and actually read you the summary for this one because I've read it several times and it's not clicking. The dark has been waiting for far too long and it won't stay hidden any longer. Something is wrong in Snakebite, Oregon. Teenagers are disappearing, some turning up dead, and the weather isn't normal, and all fingers seem to point to TV's most popular ghost hunters who have just returned to town. Logan Ortiz Woodley, daughter of TV's pair of specters, has never been to Snakebite before, but the moment she and her dads arrive, she starts to get the feeling that there's more secrets buried here than they originally let on. Ashley Barton's boyfriend was the first teen to go missing, and she's felt his presence ever since. But now that the Ortiz Woodleys are in town, his ghost is following her, and the only person Ashley can trust is the mysterious Logan. When Ashley and Logan team up to figure out who or what is haunting Snakebite, their investigation reveals truths about the town, their families, and themselves that neither of them are ready for. As the danger intensifies, they realize that their growing feelings for each other could be a light in the darkness. So this is another book that I saved mostly because I liked the cover. Someone else shared it. I thought the cover was interesting. The synopsis sounded cool. The cover actually kind of reminds me of the covers of 2 of Roy Powers' books. Like the way that the girls on the front are kind of, shown in profile with a bunch of lines. Kind of reminds me of Wilder Girls, like that cover. I don't know exactly how I'm seeing that cover in it, but then it also reminds me with the colors on the front of The Dead in the Dark. That also kind of reminds me of the color of the cover of Burn Our Bodies Down. I might just be making that up and drawing that connection out of nowhere, but I kind of see that connection. And then just the idea of this book sounds really interesting and fun. I'm really excited to read it. And yeah, I really don't have a lot to say about this last book. The cover is the main thing drawing me that makes me want to read it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. These are all of just books that these are just some of the books I want to read next year. I'm sure I'm going to read a bunch of backlist books from 2020 and further back. I'm hopefully going to read a few new releases. Hopefully I will find more new releases I'm excited for. And if you have any new releases that you're interested in, please feel free to let me know about them. Especially any new releases by Native and Indigenous authors. I tried to find some, and I don't know what issue I was having, if I just suck at looking for them. I even tried Googling Indigenous books being released in 2021, and it just showed books that were already released this year. So I had a little bit of trouble finding Indigenous authors, but I'm trying to keep my reads diverse and further diversify them. But anyways, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.